Christmas a come, me want me llama. Christmas a come, me want me llama.
With Christmas just a few days away, there's not much time left for shopping, whether you're buying an actual llama or something a little less exotic. For most families, gift giving is a must at Christmas, but although we may feel the need to shower our loved ones with tokens of our appreciation, we can't afford to forget the bills and other financial obligations that can't be ignored come January morning. So we here at the JIS encourage you to buy with a budget in mind. Weigh the needs versus the wants, and remember that it's not the cost of the gift that counts, it's the thought behind it. Welcome to another festive edition of Jamaica Magazine. Without any further ado, let's get right into the show.
It is the festive season and we all want to enjoy ourselves. So if you drink, don't drive. And if you drive, please drive within the speed limit and obey all the road codes. If you have an hypertensive patient or a diabetic patient, stick with your diet. As I said, do everything in moderation, don't overindulge. And if we all do that, we will have an enjoyable holiday.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS news for Monday, December 22. Jamaica is to get a $67 million disbursement from the International Monetary Fund IMF following approval from the IMF's executive board and confirmation that the country has passed the 6th IMF test. In a statement Friday, the IMF said the government's commitment to the economic program had remained strong. The multilateral agency added that the country's fiscal performance was on track and all quantitative targets and structural benchmarks for the July to September quarter were met. Recent reports show that growth is also picking up, and the IMF has indicated that the 2015-2016 financial year is an opportunity for government to continue financial and public sector reforms.
Jamaica's success at completing these quarterly reviews is a testament to the commitment made by this government to improving people's lives over the long term.
The IMF mission to Jamaica conducted its 6th review of the economy from November 5 to 14. And Jamaica's relationship with the Inter-American Development Bank IDB should strengthen now that the multilateral has moved to establish a new permanent country office in Kingston. Ground was broken at the site last Friday.
I really want to thank you for selecting Jamaica, for building this office. I know it will redound to the benefit of the Jamaican people.
Construction on the energy-efficient building, just a stone's throw from Vale Royal, is expected to begin in the summer of 2015. The work should be completed by January 2017. Friday's groundbreaking was one of several activities on the agenda for the IDB President Luis Alberto Moreno, who was on the island for a 2-day visit to mark 45 years of partnership with Jamaica. Since 1969, the island has benefited from $3.8 billion worth of IDB grants and loans for investment and budgetary support. As Christmas Day approaches, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller is urging road users to take greater caution on the roadways. Mrs. Simpson Miller's call follows an increase in the number of road fatalities since the start of the year. More than 300 people have died in road crashes. During a recent meeting of the National Road Safety Council, the Prime Minister said she was disheartened by the number of road fatalities and called for individual and collective responsibility to minimize fatal crashes. Mrs. Simpson Miller also pledged her commitment to ensuring the speedy passage of the amended Road Safety Act, which she believes will address a variety of road safety issues. In the meantime, the Jamaica Constabulary Force says it will continue to maintain a strong presence on the nation's streets during the festive period. Head of the Community Safety and Security Branch, Senior Superintendent Karina Powell-Hood, says more police will be in bus parks and busy commercial areas.
We have started already as an organization to deploy police officers in our major shopping centers, our busiest thoroughfares. You will notice we've started already at some of our major intersections within the corporate area, and this is replicated throughout the island as well.
SSP Powell Hood is also encouraging business operators to ask the police for help to transport large sums of money. And for persons who may need to discard barrels received from overseas, the SSP says householders should remove names, addresses, and other information that could be used by criminals. As part of a move to preserve the Negril coastline, the Natural Resources Conservation Authority, NRCA, has granted approval for 2 offshore breakwaters to be built in the Long Bay area of Westmoreland. The breakwaters, which are being installed under the GOJ Adaptation Fund, are part of a beach management strategy to slow the pace of erosion of the coastline. The National Works Agency has been granted a beach license for the construction and maintenance of the breakwater structures, dredging of the sea, and coastal reclamation. A local monitoring committee comprising public and private sector interests will also be established to ensure accountability. And finally, work to rid the island of mosquito breeding sites is moving apace, with most members of parliament submitting chickpea work programs. The National Health Emergency Response Monitoring Committee is reporting that 55 of 63 MPs submitted their work programs, with 52 approved and underway. Committee Chair Senator Sandria Faulkner said advance payments of 50% have already been made for approved programs. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
Oh, come, all ye faith, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of Days.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller welcomed news last week that the U.S. government had finally heeded the call to normalize relations with Cuba. Mr. Simpson Miller addressed that and other important developments during the course of what turned out to be a busy week. Here are the highlights.
Congratulations, President Obama and Castro. Prime Minister Simpson Miller hails the move to normalize relations between the U.S. and Cuba. PM declares that the National Council of the Partnership for Jamaica is as solid as ever, and residents in Clarendon community get their land titles. With Jamaica House Weekly, I'm Stacey Ann Smith. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has welcomed news of the re-establishment of diplomatic relations between Cuba and the United States. Shortly after the announcement last week, Mrs. Simpson Miller congratulated the presidents of both countries on the move, which she described as bold and visionary.
This represents courageous action by the governments of the United States and Cuba that will ultimately serve the best interest of the people of both countries.
The Prime Minister said the next step would be a total and formal end of the U.S. government's unilateral trade embargo against Cuba. She said the thawing of relations between Cuba and the U.S. vindicated the principled position of Jamaica and the rest of CARICOM.
The policy shift is particularly heartening, coming so soon after the CARICOM-Cuba summit held in Havana on December 8, and the declaration which emanated from the meeting again calling for the full involvement of Cuba in the various fora of the international community.
Following last Tuesday's meeting of the National Council of the Partnership for Jamaica, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller expressed her confidence in and commitment to the Partnership for Jamaica process.
I want to publicly declare my personal commitment and that of the government to the dialogue with all sectors of the society through the Partnership of Jamaica.
At the meeting, the partners reiterated their commitment to the partnership and agreed to take steps to strengthen the structure of the council and use it to resolve issues. The council also agreed that the consultation code of practice for the public sector issued in 2005 would be embedded in the operations of ministries and agencies. In addition, Mr. Simpson Miller said the group discussed ways to improve reporting relationships between agencies and ministries of government.
I am instructing that the Ministry of Finance and Planning provide a comprehensive update to the Partnership on the Public Bodies Management Accountability Act and the status of work being undertaken to improve the public sector governance framework.
Meanwhile, the National Housing Trust NHT's acquisition of the Orange Grove property in Trelawney was among the topics discussed at last Tuesday's Partnership Council meeting. The partnership noted and accepted the information provided by the Prime Minister that a new board for the NHT would be appointed when the life of the current board expires in April 2015.
I believe that out of those frank and open discussions, we have moved closer to reducing the emotional reactions and understanding the facts of the situation, as well as the views and opinions of each other.
Prime Minister Simpson Miller was speaking at a ceremony Wednesday where 40 residents of the Havana Heights housing scheme in Clarendon received land titles from the Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing.
Land titles provide people with security of tenure. When you feel secure, you can better plan your life. Your family situation is more stable. People who own land on which they live have greater stake in their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, ownership is vital for building wholesome communities and for giving Jamaicans a feeling of responsibility for their communities.
The Prime Minister used Wednesday's land titling ceremony to encourage the new landowners to pay their property taxes, which she reminded was important to keeping streetlights on and ensuring timely garbage collection in their community. And the Prime Minister broke ground on Friday at the site of the new offices of the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, in St. Andrew.
I really want to thank you for selecting Jamaica, for building this office. I know it will redound to the benefit of the Jamaican people and certainly of our region.
The $13 million project will begin mid-August 2015, with the offices scheduled to open by January 2017. The IDB's country office in Jamaica is expected to be a model for its offices globally, as all services for the design and construction of the building will be sourced locally. Ahead of the groundbreaking, Mrs. Simpson Miller met with IDB President Luis Alberto Moreno at Jamaica House. Mr. Moreno was on the island for a two-day visit, which included meetings with the Minister of Finance, senior government officials, the private sector, trade unions, and civil society. And that's it for this week's edition of Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next time for the latest stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. My guest today is Laurice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement with the FSC. Welcome to the FSC Minute, Laurice.
Thank you so much, Nadine.
Laurice, the December 2013 Securities Act amendments gave the FSC increased investigative powers. What has been instituted?
The amendments will allow certain benefits and remedies for the investors who have suffered losses or have otherwise been adversely affected by unfair or fraudulent practices of operators in the market. Now, it also allows the FSC to obtain information from licensees and registrants and other persons, and it broadens the range of circumstances under which the FSC may obtain search warrants, and it strengthens the FSC's powers to obtain information from licensees and registrants and other persons.
There's also increased powers given to the FSC in how we cooperate with overseas regulators.
Given the trans-border nature of crimes, it is necessary for regulators to cooperate with their overseas counterparts in order to combat financial crimes. The amendments to the Securities Act now allows any information obtained by the FSC pursuant to conducting an investigation to be shared with overseas securities regulators for the purpose of ensuring compliance with the securities laws administered by the securities regulator. This power may be exercised by the FSC whether or not the FSC has an independent interest in this investigation.
Thank you, Laurice. My guest today was Laurice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement with the FSC. For the FSC Minute, I am Nadine Newsom.
The holidays are about connecting with friends and loved ones and making time for fun. But even as you go about enjoying the holiday season, it's important to remember the hidden dangers. Consider these simple tips to keep safe around the home. Cut down overgrown hedges close to your home to improve visibility around your property, and watch out for persons acting suspiciously in your community. When inside, especially at nights, remember to secure windows and doors with deadbolts, and try not to leave keys where they can be seen from outside. If you are leaving your home, make sure to lock all windows and doors, and do not tell too many persons that you are going away for the holiday. Another safety tip to remember involves your house keys. Do not leave spare keys in mailboxes and other places around the home. If you must, leave them with a relative or a neighbor you can trust. It's recommended that you install a security system and safety lights that are triggered by movement, as these help to deter criminals. And if you feel there is an intruder inside your home, make an alarm for help or call the police. Do not attempt to investigate yourself. As you go about enjoying all the holiday has to offer, be vigilant and keep safe. And also, please remember your neighbors. Look out for anything or anyone suspicious and contact the police for assistance.
They told me, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, I have no gifts to give, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam. I am a poor boy too, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam.
The sorrel is chilling in the fridge. The cake just got a second dose of wine. So now all that's left is the main course for Christmas dinner. Watch this next feature for some healthy and nutritious meal ideas that won't break the bank.
Food is the glue that binds many a family gathering, especially at Christmas. This time of year calls for more spending, from gifts to outings and so on. But we still have to consider the food, not true? That's why we're here at the Hartress NTA's Cardiff Hotel and Spa, where Executive Chef Faye Dawkins and her team will run us through a Christmas meal that's not only healthy and nutritious, but also friendly on our pockets. Auntie Faye, what's on the menu?
Hi Sharnit, welcome to the Cardiff Hotel and Spa. On today's menu, we are going to be preparing a delicious breakfast that is budget friendly. Chef Ashani Cochrane and his assistant Kadeen Wynn will be showing you how to prepare a tasty Christmas breakfast. On the menu, we have watermelon wedges, cornmeal porridge, steamed kalaloo and codfish, fried dumpling, pressed green plantain, and the good old country chocolate.
That sounds good, but will the breakfast break the bank?
No, it will not. Kalaloo, as you know, is available all year round. You get about a pound 4 ounces per bundle, and that can stretch a lot. Saltfish is a staple, and you get a lot of mileage out of saltfish.
What of the melon?
The watermelon is cheap. It's available all year round.
Now run us through the breakfast.
At this moment, Chef Cochrane is stirring up the saltfish that is going to go into the steamed kalaloo. So he has sauteed onion, garlic, tomato with the saltfish, about 4 ounces of saltfish, and he will add that to the steamed kalaloo. From there, he is going to make the cornmeal porridge, and then he will do the fried dumplings, the pressed green plantain, and the country chocolate.
Lovely, lovely. So Auntie Faye, by 11:30 I'm hungry again, you know. What's next?
I know that, Shirley. We know that on Christmas Day, usually no lunch is cooked because we're so busy in the kitchen fixing Christmas dinner.
Right.
So we have a little pickings that you can all feast on while we are preparing the meal. We have socks up made from fruit juice, and we have cheese, crackers, and sugar cane to munch on.
What's on the dinner menu, Auntie Faye?
Well, today we'll be cooking for a family of 4. So we are keeping it on a budget. You know that Christmas is a time when relatives
right.
all get together. So you can even make it bigger and still keep it on a budget by planning a menu, asking the family members to each bring a dish, and that would complement the entire Christmas menu. Today, Chef Conniff will show you how to sear a chicken breast. She's going to buy the chicken breast from the grocery shop or the supermarket, and she's buying mixed parts. Then she's going to debone it. So it works out much cheaper than if you should have gone to buy deboned chicken breast. Today, we'll be cooking chicken foot soup with ram goat noodle, seared chicken breast, hot roasted pork, steamed fish with okra, gungo peas and rice, ground mashed provision, steamed garden vegetables, and we're using pak choy and carrot, sorrel drink, and Christmas pudding.
Auntie Faye, now that the dinner is over, I know you have some great ideas for the leftovers.
Of course, Charlotte. All leftovers can be used in many different ways. You can use the leftover meat to make sandwiches. You can do one-pot meals with them. Just cut up meat and vegetables, add some rice to it, and you make a delicious and nutritious one-pot meal. You can use it also to make sandwiches, for the next day.
Okay, and I know a big part of budgeting is preparing for next year. So what do you think we can do to prepare for next year?
To prepare for next year, you can do a lot of things. One thing we use vegetables all the time. We use herbs and spices to bring out the flavor of food. So you could probably start your own little container gardening where you, nearer to Christmas, you can plant your callaloo, pak choy, vegetables in flower pots.
And for all you budding chefs, be sure to catch all the recipes from today's meal in this book. It's a JIS publication. Until next time, happy eating and happy cooking.
Little town of Bethlehem, how still we see the light.
And this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me.
My encouragement to parents this Christmas is have a very Merry Christmas, but make it a family Christmas.
And this Christmas will be a very special Christmas.
If you're anything like me, it's around this time of year that your New Year's resolutions take shape. For many people, their goal of owning a home tops the list. So while you come up with strategies to achieve that goal, here are some things to consider as you prepare to put that roof over your head.
I have a dream that one day I'll rise above all odds and own something with real monetary value.
And I have a dream that one day I can start building the foundation for something that will span more than one generation.
I need a roof over my head.
Buying a house is probably one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. It might even be the single largest expenditure.
What I'd say to potential home buyers is to look for what you can afford. And what you can afford, for the most part, represents your monthly payments.
Home ownership is not something that can be done right off the bat. Most potential home buyers have to contend with the securing a mortgage and finding the deposit, closing costs, and other fees. It's expensive, time-consuming, and if you don't plan properly, could be emotionally draining.
So you start saving your deposit or your closing costs, because those are expenses that, for the most part, will not be financed by any financial institution.
Deposits usually represent taxes being charged by the government. It may be about 5 to 15% of the cost of the house if you're buying on the open market. You want to look out for things like stamp duty, registration, and legal fees. Now, one has to shop around when you're on the hunt for a house, especially if you're looking on the open market.
So whatever price you get, make sure you negotiate. It's not necessarily a buyer's market, but you do have some clout right now in the marketplace.
If you're buying from a developer, check to make sure they are registered with a real estate board. It's also wise to monitor construction and whatever is taking place at the site.
We ask that people be careful when they're making deposits and don't deposit more than about 30% before you see that house.
All payments should be done through your attorney and the escrow account. That's simply an account that can be monitored by both depositors and the financial institution funding the project. Anyone can buy a house, as long as they have the required fees and a mortgage institution to finance the remainder of the payment. But there's one other critical piece missing from the puzzle: an attorney. The attorney will tell you up front what you should do even before you are set to receive assistance from a mortgage institution.
An attorney acting on behalf of a purchaser, one of the first things they will do is request a copy of the duplicate certificate of title, and they will carry out a title search, right, at the titles office.
That search is necessary to find out if there was any problem associated with the property. The attorney will also be able to analyze the sale agreement. That's a contract between the vendor and the purchaser.
And oftentimes, if you do not meet your obligations within the time specified, there are consequences, right? You can either lose your deposit, where there is a forfeiture clause in the agreement, or you may have to pay interest on balance outstanding, which will cause the sale to be more expensive than you had anticipated.
Your legal representative will also make sure that the person who is selling the property has the legal right to do so.
We have had instances where persons have been known to sign agreement for sale and their names are not on the title as registered owners, and persons have paid over their monies and are not able to get it back.
Two other critical documents that the lawyer will examine are the surveyor's ID and valuation report. The valuation report describes the property and outlines its monetary value. It might also outline the amenities available in the surrounding communities.
The surveyor's ID report now is usually prepared by a land surveyor, and this one outlines what the boundaries of your property is. It identifies what the property is on the ground to make sure that what you're buying on paper is what is on the ground.
And if you're planning to build on your own, make sure you get the proper building approvals and technical input.
It's not just important to construct a home, but you want to make sure that that home can last for some time.
The dream of owning a home can become a reality. Start the planning process early. It's probably one of the biggest investments you'll ever make.
I need a roof over my head.
And that's our show. Hope you enjoyed today's offering. Your usual and helpful feedback is important to us. So please continue to send your emails to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. If you're a social media butterfly, visit us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. You may also visit our website, jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Arroyo Eubanks, wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas when it comes.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.